Right, it's Steve, the Ranger kit car guy here. I'm usually rambling on about my kit car, but I've now just picked up one of these, an Insignia 2010 diesel. That's my runabout, and there seems to be sort of some confusing information, so I'll try and see if I can help out. First of all, we're talking about gearbox oil. Changing the gearbox oil and filling it back up, and there seems to be a bit of confusion about this. I've watched a couple of videos. One guy took his battery out, battery carrier, all this lot, lifted it all off to get at the filler. You got to ask yourself, I mean, that's not what Vauxhall would do, is it? So there has to be an easier way. Somebody else suggested that you can access it just through here. It's straight below it. I don't think it is, because if that's the engine, the gearbox is over here, and that's the bell housing. You really don't want to be squirting any oil anywhere down there. On Peugeots and Citroens you can undo the breather at the top of the gearbox and fill it up there, but I don't know if it's the case on this. And I saw a video of another guy who ran a tube down to the filler, which was good. That'll work, with a funnel at the top. Problem was, somebody told him it held 4 litres or 4.5 litres of gear oil, and it doesn't, and he flooded his driveway with it. But so here's the gearbox. That's the gearbox, 6-speed. That down there is the drain plug. It's in the diff when the drive shafts come out. That's the lowest point, that's why. And that is where you fill it up. That's why it only holds 2.5 litres, because it only comes up to that level across there, you see. It's just like any other gearbox. In the old days, we'd have just taken the plug off and filled it until it came out, but they say 2.5 litres, so that's what I put in. So what you want to get yourself is one of these. I've had this for ages. This one's Nielsen. I'll hold it so you can get the number there. Look, it's just a fluid pump. This one holds 1 litre at a time. You just simply pop the end in the hole there and pump it in. So that one holds 1 litre. It's as easy as that. You don't have to take the inner wing off. I think you probably could get at it through there, but got to be easier to take the plastic inner wing off, isn't it? I hope that helps. There's going to be loads more, so hit the subscribe button. I'll try and put up some more stuff. Hi, it's me again, Ranger Kit Car Guy. Here we go. Just another little short one on the Insignia. Might help a few people. Now, don't know whether most of you are aware, but these are the drop links that come as standard. They're plastic. Pretty crappy, to be honest. They're fine if all you do is drive up and down the motorway, but you can see what's happened to this one. It's snapped in half. This is what usually happens to them. They snap in half. Well before they wear out. Okay on motorways, no good on the roads of Cambridgeshire, sure. The roads around here are absolutely atrocious, shameful, and they don't last 5 minutes. But what you can get is a set of them heavy duty steel ones. Now that's more like a standard setup on any other car, not a plastic thing. So they're off. You can get them on eBay. I can always point somebody towards the number if they can't find them. So get rid of them and get yourself some of them. Okay, hit the subscribe button, that'd be nice. There's going to be some more stuff coming. Right, Ranger Kit Car Guy again. Next problem on this, what we're going to try and resolve, is these engines. A lot to do. I haven't had a lot to do with the 2 litre. I've had with the 1300. What people don't know that the 1300 is exactly the same engine, effectively. They're not made by Vauxhall. It says GM on the top, but it's not. The numbers on here are all Fiat numbers. That's the Fiat number identification. I think the engines are built by Fiat. They're using the Alpha, I know that. They're using the Saab. But, anyway, they breathe very heavily, and the idea is that the oil vapour is meant to come back up through the engine through here, come along, and be sent back in just before the turbo, back into the engine again. It comes up via one of these. This is a PCV. This is the 1300 one. It's exactly the same though. Comes in here, drains back through this one supposedly, and gets sucked into the engine here. So it's meant to suck in the fumes, basically, the vaporized oil. It just makes a mess. You'll often see oil leaking out through here. Any of the pressure size of the turbo system, any of the intercooler pipes, there'll be oil residue in there. Up. I mean, one bonus is that if the pipe splits, at least it shows you where it's split, because there's oil spraying out everywhere. It just creates a mess, and it causes problems with what would be the EGR. So what I do is I fit one of these. There's a little catch tank. It's quite simple on this. This comes up here from the PCV. It's a metal pipe, and it usually turns and curves around this corner here and carries on there like that. There's just a bend there. So what I do is, as you can see, I just chop it just before the bend, there and there. I use the bend, but unfortunately these work this way round. It would be nicer if they were the other way around, but they don't. So the oil is drawn up through here, circulates, the residue, the heavy residue, drops inside, and then it carries on back, using round that bend, back onto the original pipe and down in. That takes away an enormous amount of that. It won't get rid of the really fine stuff, because that still gets sucked through, but the heavier stuff collects in there. And all you do is unscrew it every now and then, empty. You've got a little dip stick on the top to tell you when it's full. Some of them you can put a filter on the top, but you don't want a filter, you want a sealed system. They are so cheap, like 15, 20 quid. You can get them off Amazon or eBay. If you can't find one, leave us a comment and I'll put a link on. Now the bonus of that is when you get to the EGR. Now the EGR, the system, I'll tell you how it works. It's a 4-cylinder engine, but if you took this off and had a look at the exhaust manifold, there would actually be 5 ports along here. 4 of them are exhaust ports, and the 5th is for the EGR. So the EGR system Okay, if you took this off and you had a look at the exhaust manifold, there would actually be 5 ports, not 4. What happens is 4 exhaust normal, and there's a 5th port at the end here. Now, the majority of the exhaust gases just go straight in the manifold, straight into the turbo and out. But the 5th port sort of takes a bit, and it runs down the side of the engine in the head. Looks just like a port and a head. It comes out the back into the EGR system. And what the EGR system does is a little valve that opens and closes and blows, allows some of the gases to come back up through this pipe into the inlet. And then there's a pitot tube in here, a bent tube that lets the gases merge with the fresh air and sucks it all back into the engine. The problem is, I'll show you what the EGR look valve does. That's an EGR valve. There you go. It's my spare one I have sitting about. So it's just a little plunger there, and that motorised opens and closes that, allowing more or less exhaust gases up into the inlet manifold. The problem with the oil circulation system is that it ends up all this muck. If you took it off, if you take any of these pipes off, you'll see it's be full of oil, and then you've got exhaust gases coming up there, sooty or exhaust gases, and oily air coming in here, and they merge right by the butterfly for the throttle, and it turns it into a claggy mess that just sticks to everything. I've taken these off before, and there's only 50% of the airflow left on it because it's so built up. So if you do that, you'll reduce the clagginess there. A lot of people just blank off the EGR. The EGR isn't at fault. It's not the fault of the EGR system. The engine is designed to run with the EGR. You can take them off. They run a bit cleaner. But to be honest, I never bother. Just keep the EGR cleaned. Take the valve off or get a spare one, clean it, just change them over occasionally. They're so easy to get out. It's only 2 bolts and an electrical connector. That's the key, keeping this clean, keeping the inlet clean, keeping all these pipes clean. The induction system will not work if it's got oil vapour in it. That slows the air down. It just... Anyway, that's the theory. Just whack one of them on, catch a bit of it, it'll keep that cleaner. On the EGR, I chop the pitot tube off. Mine is always flush inside here. I don't send it back towards the butterfly at all. Not when I've got a catch tank on. I just let it suck the air back in. Okay, I don't know whether that'll help anybody. Subscribe if you can, please, because there's going to be more. Okay, I'm just about to check my catch tank on my 1300. Use this daily. So just have a look, see what's going on. there you go. That would have been making its way, that lovely mess would have been making its way through the inlet. Right, so it's going to end up upside down or something if I'm not careful. I'm going to focus again. Where is it? There it is. So that's the EGR block. Well, this is the inlet manifold side of it. There's a water jacket, and this here on this side, the square outlet, is where it comes back up and feeds into the inlet manifold there. Now, quite common problem is that starts leaking is a metal plate. So there, I'm going to get it to focus. Come on, focus. Damn thing. There we go. Yeah, the metal plate fits on that. It's more like an adapter, to be honest. It's a bit of a... Don't get this on the 1300. The EGR bolts straight to it. But yeah. So what happens is it starts leaking. This is the side that faces outwards because you can see the screw marks. But it starts leaking between the two and running down the back. It's only a small leak, but so take it off, give it a nice clean with some Scotch-Brite, make sure there's no high spots, and then put it back with some real good quality Hylamar or something like that. Use a high temp silicone sealer. Right, so here's the EGR valve. It's only 2 bolts, all cleaned up, ready to go in. It actually operates this way. It opens. It's like a little plunger there. It opens up, allowing more or less gas to come back down, exhaust gas. It's only 2 bolts and an electrical connector, so it's easy to get off. It really isn't a problem on these ones. But if you take this off, take the plate off as well, because loosening this can disturb that plate and then you'll have a water leak, which is what's happened to mine at some stage, I would think. But yeah, 2 bolts back on. Just going to put a little bit of sealant around that. It says no water gets on this bit at all. So if you've got a water leak, it's coming out between that plate and the body. It's nothing to do with this. Okay. Now this is the tube that delivers the exhaust gases that have been let through up to the inlet manifold. Now you should have a PT tube on here that aims it back towards the butterfly. I always trim them off. I don't like them. I'd rather have it completely open rather than aiming back towards the butterfly. So